What's really going on here in the housing market in Menifee, Perris, and Lake Elsinore? Sales are going down, inventory is going up, and it could signal shift that you will want to know about. What is going on, everyone? My name is Miguel Diaz, Realtor here in Riverside County, and in today's video, we're going to be going over the housing stats for Perris, Lake Elsinore, and Menifee for smart viewers like yourself that want to stay educated on home prices and where the market might be heading. And make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to be going over what city has had the most price reductions. If you're new to the channel, I am certified with the city of Lake Elsinore as a real estate leader, and I'm currently working on my certificate to be certified also with Menifee and Perris. Also, keep in mind, as I go over this data, I want you to know that no matter what the market is doing, there's always somebody that needs to sell and there's always somebody that needs to buy. And if you want to work together, I'm gonna have my information on the description below. So just how slow were April's home sales? Well, slower than any April since 2009. Housing economists were expecting a positive gain of 2.7, and one reason is because they're saying that 7 million jobs were added to the economy. 7 million jobs, that's a lot of jobs. Where are these jobs? I don't know, but that's what they're saying. So 2009 was the year after the housing bubble crashed. If you do not know why the housing market tanked back then, it's pretty simple. From 2000 to 2007, banks were giving out terrible loans. You could lie on your income. You did not have to prove your income. Pretty much anybody could qualify to buy a house. Right now it's a little bit different. In 2020, we had COVID, and what the Fed did is that they decided to lower the rates to very historic lows, and they left it low for a very long time because they wanted to stimulate the economy. Well, in my opinion, they left them low way too long, and what caused housing prices to shoot up was that we did not build enough houses from 2008 all the way to 2020. And because the rates got so low, a lot of buyers came out of the woodworks, out of nowhere, and started competing for houses. Well, there were not enough houses for sale, and caused many people to overbid on houses. For example, you had a house for sale for $500,000. Not exaggerating, 30-40 offers on homes back then was actually common. In order to win the house, if the house was worth $500, you would offer $550. Hey, if the house is not worth $550, I'm willing to pay the difference cash. I'm waiving my appraisal, I'm waiving the inspection. Buyers were just waiving everything just to get the house. Because houses were worth $500,000, they were closing at a higher price, $550. Now the new value of that area is around $550. Another house goes up for sale for $560. They get a bid at $580. It goes up. The new value is now around $580. So because of all these crazy bidding wars is what caused housing to shoot up so much in value. So paying more than what a home appraised for back then, cash, was very common. Buyers had to do that in order to buy the house. The one with the most money ended up buying the house, and a lot of people had money and they were just buying houses. And that cycle continued for 2 years. House prices just kept on shooting up. Well, now we got high home prices and higher rates, and we're dealing with what's called an affordability issue right now. In May of this year, we saw more home sales retreat, and the president of the California Association of Realtors had this to say: with home prices leveling off, more homes coming onto the market, it's a great time for well-qualified buyers to enter the market. Lower prices are making homes more affordable, and the growing inventory means buyers have more choices. It's a rare window where people can find their ideal home at a good value, making now an ideal time to buy. I believe in May is when we started to see signals that the housing market was beginning to shift. So if you look right here at new listings, compared to this time last year, new listings are only up 2.5%. So what's interesting is that pending sales are down 11.4%. Closed sales down 3%. Days on market is up 23%, and here it is. The median sales price is down 1% from 636 to 630. That's not really much of a difference. I know the California Association of Realtors says it does make housing more affordable. $6,000 here in Riverside County is not really that much. Your monthly payment ain't gonna go down. What's gonna help out your monthly payment for sure is gonna be the interest rate. If they could lower the interest rates down, then that would help affordability across the board. What about townhouse and condos here in the IE? Well, they're only up 3.1% in inventory, but pending sales, they're down 12.6%. Closed sales down 7.1%. Days on market up 16%, and the median sales price is down 2%. So townhouse and condos are going down a little bit more faster than houses in Riverside County. Buyers are starting to get their power back, and sellers have to sweeten the deal in order to sell their house. In Seattle, 71% of sellers are giving concession, and that's the highest rate amongst the metros. Here in the Inland Empire, we're about 50% right now. When supply goes up, it usually means sellers have more competition and buyers gain more power, and that could lead to better deals, fewer bidding wars, and in some cases, price drops. It's a key sign that the market is beginning to cool. If we look at the housing inventory for Lake Elsinore, we can see that it is starting to rise. And in December of 2022, that is when the rates doubled for the first time ever in history. So rates got more expensive throughout that year, from 3% to 4% to 5% to 6% to 7%. A lot of buyers, they wanted to wait because rates were just climbing up way too fast. The mortgage affordability started shooting up. Right now, even though inventory is going up, we're barely starting to peak past the inventory we had in December of 2022, and that was around 3 years ago, and the housing market did not crash back then. So just keep that in mind. As inventory goes up, it doesn't mean that the housing market is going to crash. We're actually barely begin to pass 2022 levels. What I want you to keep in mind though is that the red solid line, that is the 90-day average, and the red dotted line, that is the 7-day average. And as you can see, in the last 7 days, inventory just boom, just shot up. And what's interesting is that Lake Elsinore is not the only city where we're seeing this huge spike on inventory in the last 7 days. For Menifee, there's also a spike up in the last 7 days in inventory. And then if we look at the last 90 days, again, we're peaking up past the 2022 levels. Same thing with Perris. The 90-day average is just starting to pass 2022 levels, and the 7-day average is also shooting up. So I'm kind of curious to know, why is it that in the last 7 days everybody's deciding to sell their house? And if you're curious to know what your home might be worth in today's market, go ahead, scan the QR code or visit the link in the description, and you'll get a very fast market analysis report emailed to you on your home's value and the activity on what's going around in your neighborhood. And I personally think we're gonna have more inventory because of the lock-in effect. So the lock-in effect is, there's a lot of people that have been thinking about selling, that have been wanting to sell, but they haven't pulled the trigger because of rates. So a lot of people are locked in at 4%, 3% rates, and it doesn't make sense for them to trade up their house to get a high 6%. So they need to sell, but they're holding back. And eventually these people are going to have to sell, because we're not going down to 3%, 4% rates anytime soon. So a lot of inventory, in my opinion, we're gonna see hit the market because of the lock-in effect. And like I was saying, interest rates have bigger impact when it comes to affordability. So a lot of people are waiting for the rates to come down, and according to this article, 2 cuts are anticipated before the year ends, and we will possibly end the year in the low 6s. Right now, mortgage rates have dropped to around 6.79, and that's the lowest we've seen since this year of April. And more people are starting to refinance. Applications are up 40% compared to this time last year. And even with these rates improving, mortgage activity is still way lower than what we saw in past real estate markets. However, there are more mortgage applications being turned in compared to this time last year. So inventory is rising, but it looks like also mortgage applications are beginning to rise as well. All right, now let's look at what city had the most price decreases when it came to their homes. Well, Menifee, we got 39%, which this is interesting because we are not at the level of 2022. If you remember, Menifee's inventory was peaking higher than 2022 levels, but the price decreases, there's less people decreasing their price compared to the last quarter of 2022. That's interesting because we're seeing more inventory come up, but the price decreases are not the same as it was 3 years ago. For Lake Elsinore, we're seeing 41% of homes decreasing their price, which is crazy, 9% away from 50%. And if we look at this chart, in 2022, we hit around like 53% of homes were decreasing their price. Same thing as Menifee. When it comes to inventory, Lake Elsinore is hitting or is passing 2022 inventory, but there's still less people decreasing their prices compared to 2022. And Perris has the least out of the two. Only 28% of homes are decreasing their prices. And again, inventory is climbing up higher than 2022 levels, but in 2022 we hit like a 40 42% of homes were decreasing prices, and right now we're at 28%. So Lake Elsinore has the biggest price decreases right now. They're at 41%. Right now, nationwide, housing construction falls to a 5-year low. Here in these areas, we're seeing a lot of new construction, a lot of communities going up, and to the point where they have no choice but to give good deals. I've seen 4.5% interest rate promotions, 5% interest rate promotions, free solar. So it looks like Lake Elsinore has the largest percentage when it comes to price decreases. And the last thing I want to talk about is new construction right now. U.S. housing construction nationwide has fallen to a 5-year low. And right here in the area, there's a lot of new construction, a lot of new communities. They're giving out pretty good deals. This morning, I got an email that one of the builders is giving out a 4.5% interest rate. So a lot of people, they want to sell. They don't want to buy because they do not want to go up to a 6.5. Well, you don't have to. There might be a new community in the area that might work out for you and your family. So if you want to buy a new construction, there's going to be a link in the description just for that. There's also going to be a link if you want to schedule a quick 15-minute phone call, if you want to know your home's value, or if you're a first-time home buyer and you want me to reach out. There's a link for everything. And that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe because I'm going to be doing a lot of these market updates in the future, and you get to stay educated with me. We get to track where the housing market is heading, and ultimately it's just to stay educated. Also, don't forget to like, comment, share with a friend, family member who's been thinking about buying or selling. I spend a lot of hours researching all this local data for smart viewers like yourself. So we will see each other on the next video. Till next time.